The desert wakes slowly. At dawn, the horizon glows with faint light, and the earth, cool from the night, begins to stir. The air is dry, almost brittle, carrying the faint smell of sand and stone. To stand here is to feel both wonder and weight. The land stretches endlessly, open and bare, as though the world has been swept clean. And yet, the desert is not empty. A small beetle makes its way across the dunes. A lizard warms itself on a sunlit rock. A hawk circles far above, wings steady against the pale sky. Each creature moves carefully, as though it knows that survival depends on patience. The desert teaches slowness, and slowness teaches strength. This is where our story begins, among the shifting sands, where silence holds more power than sound, and where every drop of water is treasured like gold. In a nearby town, resting between the desert and the grasslands, lives Michael, a schoolteacher in his late 40s. His days are filled with lessons, chalk dust, and the bright, restless energy of children. On the surface, his life looks calm. But inside, he carries a quiet heaviness. Michael often feels stretched thin. Each day brings endless questions, endless needs, and endless small tasks that leave him weary by nightfall. He loves teaching, yet sometimes he wonders if he has given too much of himself. When he returns home, the house is still and quiet, almost too quiet. The silence weighs on him as much as the noise of the classroom. So, when the day's work ends, Michael walks. He leaves the town behind, following a narrow path that winds from the edge of the desert into the open grasslands. Out here, he feels something he cannot find within walls. He feels space. He feels time. And above all, he feels a kind of balance. One afternoon, the sky is heavy with clouds, though no rain falls. The wind moves across the land with a low hum, bending the grasses like waves on an unseen sea. Michael follows the path as he always does, his steps slow, his breath deep. At first, he crosses the dry desert floor. The ground is cracked, marked with patterns shaped by years of sun. His shoes crunch over loose stones. Around him, the land seems quiet, yet he knows it holds more life than meets the eye. In this harsh place, every creature hides carefully, waiting for the right moment to move. Then, as the desert begins to soften, the grasses rise. At first they are short and pale, bending easily in the wind. But step by step, they grow taller, thicker, greener. Michael runs his hand through the blades, listening to the soft, whispering sound they make. Here, life feels more open, but also more fragile. The grasslands are not a place of endless plenty. They, too, are balanced on the edge of survival. If the rains are late, the grass dries and fades, and the herds that depend on it must travel farther. If the heat grows too harsh, the soil cracks, and the roots struggle. Life here must be flexible, always ready to bend, never able to cling too tightly to what was. As he walks, Michael thinks about his own life. He feels caught between duty and desire, between giving to others and holding something back for himself. Like the grasses, he bends and bends, hoping not to break. A sudden sound breaks his thoughts. At first, it is distant, like thunder. Then it grows louder, until the ground itself seems to tremble. Over the rise of the plain, he sees movement. A great wave is rolling across the land, not of water, but of life. A herd of antelope bursts into view, hundreds of bodies moving as one. Their legs strike the earth in rhythm, their heads lifted, eyes shining with urgency. They pass so quickly that the grass itself seems to ripple beneath them. Michael stands still, breath caught in his chest. He has never been so close to such power. And then, as suddenly as they appeared, they are gone. The silence returns, broken only by the rustle of grass in the wind. Michael feels something shift inside him. He thinks of the antelope, always moving, always seeking, never staying too long in one place. Their lives are hard, yet their freedom is undeniable. They remind him that survival is not just about endurance, it is also about movement, about change. That night, back in his small house, Michael cannot sleep. The memory of the herd runs through his mind like an echo. He realizes that much of his struggle has come from standing still, holding himself in the same patterns, repeating the same days, and expecting to feel alive. The gentle twist is this. He does not need to change who he is, but he does need to allow movement into his life. Just as the desert gives way to grassland, and the grassland gives way to migration, so too must he allow himself to shift, to seek new paths, to let balance be found not in stillness, but in flow. Over the weeks that follow, Michael begins small changes. He spends more time outside with his students, teaching them not just from books, but from the land itself. He shows them the beetles and lizards of the desert, the tall grass that bends without breaking, the antelope trails that mark the plains. The children listen with wide eyes, their laughter carried by the wind. At home, he opens his windows to the evening air, letting the sound of grasses and the scent of rain drift inside. He writes letters to old friends, voices from his past he has long neglected. And when he walks, he does not rush. He lets himself pause, to notice the balance of each place, to breathe in the lessons the land offers. Slowly, the heaviness inside him lightens. Not all at once, and not completely, but enough to remind him that balance is not a destination. It is a way of moving, like the herd across the plains, like the shift from desert to grassland, like the flow of one day into the next. The story ends on another quiet dawn. Michael stands on the edge of the grasslands, the sun rising behind him. The air is cool, filled with the scent of wet earth after a night's brief rain. The grasses shine with droplets, each one holding the light like a jewel. Birds call softly in the distance, their notes rising like questions answered by the sky. Michael closes his eyes. He feels the land breathing around him, the desert holding its silence, the grasslands carrying their song. And within him, he feels both. The stillness and the movement. The endurance and the change. He smiles, not because all is perfect, but because he knows now that perfection is not the goal. The goal is balance, alive and shifting, fragile yet strong, like the earth itself. And with that thought, he takes another step forward.